Do you remember how you were in school? How many bright students were in your class? Parents and teachers always tell us, study well, do your homework, and then everything will turn out good in your life. Students with low grades are usually called losers and are expected to have poor futures. The story that I will tell you today is about such a boy who was considered a loser at school. How was his life after school? What was he able to achieve? And most importantly, could he forgive his offenders in adulthood? Make yourself comfortable, I will tell you everything from the very beginning. Scott Davies was born in a small village to a family of sheep farmers. His parents had their own farm where they worked from morning till night. His parents spent all their free time at work and tried to prepare their son to work with them, but Scott had other plans in life. The boy did not show much love for studying. He was a very shy child. He did not get along well with other children and did not show any particular success in school. His teachers had basically given up on him. All the children in the class mocked the boy. Therefore, he hated going to school. He looked forward to the end of class every day in order to get out of that hated place. He especially hated taking tests. Each time he was barely able to pass, but in 2011 he failed and could not pass even an easy exam. The teacher lost his patience with Scott and told him how he really felt. His words were, "You are good for nothing, Scott. You will never achieve anything in your life. I honestly do not understand what you are doing at school. Maybe you should not continue studying at all because you are just wasting your time and wasting mine. You are not capable of even an elementary understanding of simple things. You are a failure in life, and you will remain a failure." These words would upset even an adult, but imagine a teenager hearing such things from someone who was supposed to be like a mentor. So Scott decided to drop out of school. After this, he worked odd jobs wherever he could. He worked as a laborer at a construction site, but then he was fired without explanation. After that, he swept the streets during the day, and at night he unloaded coal. Several years passed in this way. But one day, something happened, and it changed Scott's life forever. On one of his night shifts, when he was unloading coal, Scott miscalculated the weight he was trying to lift, and he felt a sharp pain in his back. The young man immediately fell to the ground. He could not even move. So he lay for several hours, and when the pain subsided a little, he was able to slowly get up and call an ambulance. After conducting the necessary examinations, he was diagnosed with damage to the intervertebral disc. He could no longer do physical labor and had to remain in the care of his parents. Scott was well aware that it would be difficult for his parents to support him, so he took courses for opportunities to earn a living other than physical labor. There, the man was taught how to draw up business plans so that he could get a bank loan for business development. Scott had been thinking about selling honey for a long time. He wanted to buy honey wholesale from local suppliers and sell it at retail for profit. Now the young man knew what to do. He drew up a business plan and went to the banks in hopes of getting a loan. But because he had no credit history and his previous work experience was not relevant, not a single bank dared to give him the required amount. He tried a lot of banks until one bank finally agreed to give him only $5,000. Yes, this was clearly not enough to fully deploy, but Scott decided to start small. He took this money, then in 2 weeks he designed a logo for his company and bought several hundred empty honey jars. He bought several hundred liters of honey from his neighbors, and he got to work. The man printed and glued labels to his jars for days, then filled them with honey. When the packaging work was completed, he began his first steps in the sale of his product. Every day, he took several jars of honey with him and walked the streets of town, offering honey to passers-by. Then he started participating in fairs and showed his product there. Step by step, he increased the speed of his production. All his free time was spent packaging honey, then walking around the city to sell it. At this rate, for the first year of work, he managed to gain $31,000. But the man was in no hurry to spend the money he had received, and instead he invested it back into his company in order to maximize his business. Every year, the man increased his turnover several times, and after 3 years, he became the most famous seller of honey in his region. From that moment on, he could no longer handle his business alone, and he asked his family to help him. Scott and his family spent days pasting labels on jars and packing honey, but for his company, this was just the beginning. In his 4th year, Scott went to the big honey show in London where he presented his product. Large British honey sellers ordered 25,000 jars of honey at the exhibition. It was Christmas Eve, and instead of celebrating, the whole family was labeling and packing. Scott knew it was time to expand production, and after completing this order, he moved to a large production facility. Now, not only his family members worked for him, but also hired workers, among whom, by the way, were the same good students who mocked him at school. But the man forgot all his childhood grievances because now he had a successful business. Soon, Scott decided to enter the largest retail chain in the UK, Tesco, and after several unsuccessful attempts, they finally signed a contract with Scott's company and offered to promote their line in more than 500 of their stores. By the end of 2020, Scott's Hilltop Honey Company was ranked the 20th fastest-growing company with $15 million in revenue. But Scott didn't stop there. Now he is expanding his company with a range of honey, and he also started the production of organic cosmetics. So, from a student that others considered a loser who was dependent on his parents, Scott became the director of one of the largest companies. Therefore, you should never mock those who study poorly at school. Perhaps this is exactly the stage that gives rise to their potential in the future. Friends, share your opinion in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and of course, do not forget about the bell icon so as not to miss our new stories.